Alright, hello everyone. Yung lecture natin today, papahulaan ko kayo kung saan kong playlist ilalagay ito, no? I-base nyo sa title. Ang title natin is Jesus and Cognitive Psychology. So, hindi ko sasabihin. I'm sure may hirapan kayo kasi hindi masyadong obvious. Based on the title, under anong playlist ko to ilalagay. So, this lecture is about cognitive psychology, which, kayong mga psych majors, dapat alam nyo to, is the science of thinking. Kapag nag-cog-psych ka, ang pag-aaralan mo dyan is paano mag-isip ang mga tao. In fact, punta ka sa online dictionary ng APA, yan ang definition ng cognitive psychology, mag-focus lang kayo sa red words. Ano raw yung mga issue? Ano yung general issue ng cognitive psychology? It's all about mental operations. Everybody say mental operations. Ano yung mga bagay-bagay na under ng mental operations? Mga bagay na nangyayari inside our heads, quote-unquote. Nandyan ang memory, nandyan ang learning, nandyan ang thinking, language, visualization, so on and so forth. Lahat ng bagay na ginagawa mo kapag nag-iisip ka, scientifically, pinag-aaralan yan under ng cognitive psychology. Ngayon, in this lecture, kaya ang title natin is Jesus and Cognitive Psychology, I am going to share with you na maraming sinasabi si Jesus, ina-acknowledge niya yung existence ng cognitive psychology. During the time na wala pang formal psychology, after all, sana naman agree kayo lahat, no? During the time of Jesus, wala pa namang formal psychology, wala pang cog-psych. Pero maraming tinuturo si Jesus, marami siyang sinabi that confirms the existence of cognitive psychology. And in this lecture, magpapakita ako ng 3 examples of this. Number 1, kaya ako nasabi ni si Jesus na naniniwala siya sa cognitive psychology is because in the first place, kinonfirm niya na totoong merong cognition. Na merong mga bagay na nangyayari inside a person that is considered cognition, mga bagay na pag-iisip. In fact, in one of his teachings, yan nga raw yung isang dahilan kung bakit ang tao na defile ang character because of things that are inside us. And one of those things na sinasabi ni Jesus that defiles us na makikita sa loob, as you can read here, is what? Evil thoughts. And when you say thoughts that are evil, that's part of cognition. So in this passage, in this teaching, talagang si Jesus naniniwala siya na meron talagang cognition na nangyayari sa isang tao. Other than that, another example is when he told the parable of the Good Samaritan. Towards the end of the parable, tinanong niya yung nakikinig sa kanya. Tinanong niya, which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? What does that imply? Bakit si Jesus, tinatanong niya yung kausap niya about the parable because Jesus was concerned with what people think. After all, Jesus was a teacher. Ganyan kami mga teachers, lagi kaming interesado sa mga bagay na iniisip ng mga estudyante namin. And that's exactly what he was showing here. Nagmamatter sa kanya kung anong iniisip nung kausap niya, kung paano mag-isip yung kinakausap niya, kaya niya tinanong tong question na to doon sa kausap niya about the Good Samaritan. Last example under number 1, Jesus was also concerned about what his disciples think. In this context, tinanong niya muna yung mga disciples niya, who do you hear people say is the Son of Man? And he was referring to himself. Sa simpleng Tagalog, ano yung mga naririnig yung sinasabi ng mga tao kung sino ba ako? And then later on, nung sinagot na ng mga disciples yon, nag-shift naman siya sa mga disciples niya. Kayo ang mga disciples ko, kayong araw-araw kong kasama. Who do you think I am? Bakit tinatanong ni Jesus yon? Because it matters to him what the disciples are thinking, how the disciples are thinking. Diba? This is one of the most popular questions na tinanong niya sa mga disciples niya. But what about you? Jesus asked, who do you say that I am? At isa sa mga sumagot dyan, sino? Si Peter. Yun, basahin niyo na lang kung anong sinagot ni Peter sa tanong ni Jesus na, who do you say that I am? So Jesus clearly confirms the existence of cognition. Kaya with all this, mayroon akong tanong sa inyo, ikaw ba, do you care about your thought life? Kung totoong may cognition because Jesus confirms it, then it means isa sa mga nakakaapekto ng quality ng buhay mo would be the things that you are thinking about. Ikaw ba concerned ka? Do you really care about the things that are running in your head? And if you're going to ask me, ano ba yung isa sa mga bagay na dapat concerned ka about the things that you think about? I-connect mo sa word na truth. Are you ensuring, sinisigurado mo ba na yung mga bagay na iniisip mo, yung mga bagay na ine-entertain mo inside your head are true things? Kasi malaki ang epekto niyan sa overall well-being mo / mental health. Meron akong lecture video dyan, hanapin nyo, Truth and Mental Health. Number 2, Jesus taught about right thinking. Yes, merong cognition na nangyayari inside human beings, pero may mga cognition na nakakabuti, may mga cognition na nakakasama. And if you study how Jesus taught people around Him, yan yung pattern niya. I-identify niya yung maling cognition and then itatama niya. In a more technical term, i-fast forward mo from the New Testament to the modern psychology era, ang tawag nila dyan is cognitive therapy. Diba? Ano ang assumption ng cognitive therapy? Na marami mga psychological disorders, mental health issues, ano ang cause? Mali mag-isip ang tao. Dysfunctional kung paano ka mag-isip. Dysfunctional kung ano yung iniisip mo. Kaya yung mga therapy na naiimbento under cognitive therapy, yan yung general goal eh. Bakit ba nagkaroon ng cognitive therapy? Bakit nagkaroon ng cognitive behavioral therapy? Bakit nagkaroon ng rational emotive behavioral therapy si Albert Ellis? Ano ang common sa mga therapists na yan? Identify natin kung ano yung mga maling ways of thinking, ano yung mga faulty reasoning, and then babaguhin natin para mas maging tama, para mas maging healthy yung tao. Isa yan sa mga nakakasira ng mental health. Mali yung iniisip mo, mali yung way ng pag-iisip mo. And believe it or not, when Jesus was teaching people around Him, He did that approach. He corrected wrong ways of thinking. Hindi siya tanggap lang ng mga ideas ng tao and then sasabihin niya, I respect your views. Lahat ng sinabi niyo, tama. No. Jesus was sensitive about what is right and what is wrong. He corrected wrong ways of thinking para mas maging maayos yung spiritual condition ng mga tinuturuan niya. Like for example, etong issue dito, sabi niya dito, you have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Yun yung existing thinking ng mga tao noon given their socio-political background. Pero hindi agree si Jesus, so dinilit niya, minodify niya, anong sinabi niya? But I tell you, kapag sinasabi mo yung word na but, ibig sabihin i-re-rebut mo, ika-counter mo yung naunang statement, and then He says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Total opposite of the first statement. Why did Jesus do that? Kasi naniniwala siya na yung unang way of thinking mali, so kinancel niya yon, pinalitan niya ng tama. Don't hate your enemy. Pray for your enemies. Pray for those people who persecute you. Another example na nangyari to, that Jesus corrected wrong ways of thinking, yung issue ng afterlife. In the context of this passage, ang pinag-uusapan dito is the existence of the afterlife. May mga kausap si Jesus dito, hindi naniniwala sa afterlife. Hindi raw totoo yan, wala raw resurrection. Anong sinabi ni Jesus? I respect your view. Hindi niya sinabi yon. Kinorek niya. Ano sinabi niya? Jesus answered, you are mistaken because you do not know what the scriptures or know the scriptures or the power of God. And then from there, He continues correcting. He gives reason to believe na merong afterlife, and then one day, our mortal bodies will be resurrected. Nagigets nyo? Jesus identifies wrong ways of thinking, wrong belief systems, and then i-correct niya. Because He knows having the right things to think about matters in our spiritual condition. Kaya given all this, ang tanong ko sa inyo, kayo ba, what wrong beliefs that are so popular today ang naririnig nyo? Ano yung mga paniniwala ngayon, mga filosofiya ngayon na klarong-klarong mali naman, pero maraming mga tao paniwalang-paniwala doon? And a deeper question to ask is, ikaw ba? Sa tingin mo ba, meron ka na bang mga wrong beliefs na popular ngayon na ikaw mismo pinaniniwalaan mo yon? And if that's the case, if your answer is yes, is it about time na sa tingin mo, i-correct mo na yung wrong beliefs na yon para magkaroon ka ng improvement in your spiritual condition? Ikaw na lang ang makakasagot niyan. And last one, number 3, Jesus confirms the primacy of thinking. Ibig sabihin ng primacy of thinking, yung thought, siya yung merong pinakamataas na power over emotions and over behaviors. Isa yan sa mga main statement ng cognitive psychology. Although, in psychology in general, tatlo yung pinag-aaralan natin, thinking, emotions, and actions. But among these 3, tanungin mo ang mga cognitive psychologists, alin dyan ang pinaka-powerful? Anong sagot? Thoughts. Thinking. Ask me why. Alam nyo dapat to mga psych majors kasi yung thinking, siya yung merong ability to affect what you feel in the same way that thinking can also affect what you do. Ganyan ka-powerful ang thinking. Kaya mong makontrol yung emotions mo, pati na rin yung actions mo, simply through your thinking. Kaya kung merong bossing dito sa tatlo, sino ang bossing? Yung thinking. Yung dalawa, slaves lang. Feelings and behaviors. Now, anong kinalaman nito kay Jesus? Jesus also had the same framework. Kaya nga among these 3, ang laging kinokomenta ni Jesus was thinking. Like for instance, in this passage, ang pinaka-issue dito is the emotion of worry or anxiety, which alam naman natin, even in the literature today, hindi magandang emotion. Nakakataas yan ng mga physical illnesses, nasisira ang well-being natin kapag masyadong mataas ang level of worry. And Jesus also believes so. Kaya nga anong utos niya dito? Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life. In psychological language, pababain mo yung neuroticism mo. Now, question, how does Jesus teach how to lower down your neuroticism? Basahin mo buo to. Dapat meron kang set of thinking na gagawin ng epekto nun, bababa yung neuroticism mo. I-shortcut ko na lang in this passage. Ano yung dapat mong isipin para hindi ka na mag-worry? Summarize lang to or paraphrase, tignan mo nga yung mga ibon. Yung mga ibon nga, mas mababang uri kaysa tao, but God takes good care of them. Ano pa kaya ikaw, who is the child of God? Ano pa kaya ikaw, made in the image of God? You see that logic? Kung ang Diyos nga, ang mga hayop, inaalagaan niya, ano pa kaya ikaw? Therefore, anong conclusion ni Jesus? Do not worry. Isipin mo yung ganong logic para ang effect nun, bababa yung neuroticism mo. You see, that's one example of how thoughts can influence what you feel, specifically worry or anxiety. Another example would be in this passage. 'Di ba? Ito ang issue naman dito is yung sexual ethics. Sinabi ni Jesus dito na kapag ang isang lalaki tumingin sa isang babae with lust, okay? Kahit wala siyang behavior na ginagawa, nagkasala na siya, he already committed adultery. And whenever this is being taught, may mga naririnig ako na ang laging comment is, unfair naman yan, hindi ko naman ginawa, hindi naman ako nang hipo, hindi ko naman siya sexually na-offend behaviorally. Inisip ko lang naman, private thought ko naman yon, so I think okay lang. Bakit ganyan kataas ang standard ni Jesus? Na basta isipan mo lang na masama yung babae, nagkasala ka na, because Jesus knows that almost all things that you do starts with things that you think. Diba? Bakit ba? Saan ba nagsisimula yung behavior ng merong nag-rape? Saan ba nagsimula yung behavior na mayroong ng hipo? Sa buhay mag-asawa, saan ba nagsimula yung nagkaroon ng infidelity or third party in the relationship? It's all in the head. Kaya ka natukso na lokohin yung asawa mo kasi paulit-ulit mong in-entertain yung idea na niloloko mo yung asawa mo. Yung mga bagay na nangyayari sa thoughts mo, it can influence the things that you do later. Yung lagi mong iniisip in your thoughts, maya-maya ginagawa mo na. Kaya ang taas ng standard ni Jesus para masigurado mong hindi mo lolokohin yung asawa mo. Para masigurado mong hindi ka gagawa ng mga sexual offense in the behavioral level, cognitive level pa lang, ayusin mo na. Because again, cognition affects your behaviors. Ganun ang thinking process ni Jesus. Kaya lagi siyang nagko-comment sa what people are thinking about. So given point number 3, ang tanong ko sa mga nanonood ngayon, kayo ba, what thoughts are making you worse every day? Ano yung mga belief systems, mga paniniwala that ruins you emotionally, that ruins you behaviorally, ilagay nyo sa isang notebook or ilagay nyo dyan sa comment section. Sa tingin nyo, kailangan na bang palitan yan ng isang more constructive thought to improve what you feel and to improve your habits? Now, as I end this lecture, ano yung mga implications na pwede nating matutunan from this short lecture number 1? I hope you realize that thinking life is very important. Kung tatanungin ako, as a psychology professional, anong something psychological ang dapat inuuna nating i-improve bilang mga tao? Ang sagot ko, it should be the way we think and the things that we think. Anong iniisip mo? Paano ka mag-isip? Yan dapat ang una nating concern. Yan ang una nating ini-improve araw-araw. Sabi nga nila, yung thinking life natin is the steering wheel of our psyche. Whether mapupunta ka sa kaliwa or sa kanan, whether ang buhay mo gaganda o papangit, depende yan saan. Kung paano ka mag-isip, kung ano yung mga iniisip mo. Kaya yung mga mag-New Year's resolution dyan, di ba, laging sinisigaw, magbabago na ako this New Year. Ang tanong, sure, magbabago ka na, pero ano yung una mong babaguhin? Given this, sana ang una mong baguhin is what you think and the way you think. And number 2, I hope you realize, based on all these things I'm saying, that not all beliefs are equal. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na kahit anong paniniwala mo, okay lang, pantay-pantay lang ang epekto niyan sa'yo. Because clearly, it was shown na meron mga beliefs na nakakasira ng mental health, meron naman mga beliefs na nakaka-healthy, nakaka-enhance ng mental health. Kaya isa rin to sa dapat chinecheck natin araw-araw. Kamusta ang mga belief systems natin? Are we still believing in the right things? Or marami kang mga bagay na pinaniniwala that are wrong? Kaya ang nangyayari, your beliefs in wrong things lead to wrong emotions, which leads to wrong actions. So isa yan sa mga dapat mong chinecheck araw-araw other than blood pressure mo. Kamusta ang mga bagay-bagay na pinaniniwalaan mo? But on this last slide, meron akong isang could it be? In connection to all these things I'm saying, that Jesus confirms cognitive psychology, could it be na yung entire field ng cognitive psychology, ang foundation talaga niyan si Jesus? Ang foundation talaga ng cognitive psychology is something spiritual. Though we study this scientifically, yan ang ginagawa natin sa psychology, ang method scientific. Pero hindi kaya ang foundation ng cognitive psychology, or isama na rin natin yung buong psychology as a field. Hindi kaya ang buong foundation ng psychology as a field is something, or should I say, someone spiritual who is Jesus. Kung walang Jesus, walang psychology. Kung walang Jesus, walang cognitive psychology. After all, Jesus holds all things together. What do you think? Posible ba talaga na may psychology na walang Jesus, na walang Diyos? Ako personally, ako lang naman to, hindi ko kayo pinipilit, I don't think it's possible. Hindi mo talaga maiiwasan kung pag-aaralan mo ang psychology, kung pag-aaralan mo ang cognitive psychology, it always goes back to the foundation of psychology, who is God Himself. Alright? So, yun lang yung maikli nating lecture on Jesus and cognitive psychology. Kung meron kayong mga comments or suggestion na topics, ilagay nyo lang dyan sa baba sa comment section. Until the next lecture, God bless everyone. Ingat kayong lahat. Bye-bye.